Okay, this is the VR environment. We can teleport. We've got hands here. There's our buddy random man. You can see the little floating ball that just hovers about a meter in front of where he's walking to because of the pathfinding. If it went around corners, it would hover near the corner until he goes around the corner. So we can use it as a look target because people look at where they're heading to and give a little indication. As you saw in the last video, we had him looking with his shoulders and spine twisting. I've temporarily turned that off for this video because it causes disasters. You can see some foot sliding. It's relatively minor. He's walking, he's blending based on the speed he's going so that the footsteps match. But there is some sliding. The sliding's actually caused not from the animation, but by additional code that I added to move him into exact positions because the animations don't place him exactly. So by skipping and doing things faster using the animation controller, I had to correct for that, and correcting for that creates new problems. So anyway, this here is a pretty normal physics ball. I can move it using physics. It's highlighting because I made it interactable. But when I pick it up, this guy will go and collect it. So you can see him snapping as he stopped to pick it up. And it looks terrible, doesn't it? And then he snaps again and slides while he's picking it up. He successfully picked it up. It's going through his wrist because I haven't been bothered to set correct offsets for his hand. And now he's going to bring it back and put it on the table and fail to drop it on the table and instead drop it on the ground just next to the table. So we can watch him drop it on the ground a second time. His hand is doing IK, reaching for the point on the table that he wants to put it at because, I didn't bother correcting the code. I should have. I didn't realize that that isn't corrected because I don't plan to go any further with this code. This is one of the things I dislike about the standard. There, he's dropped it. Physics is a bit weird because he's dropping it near the collider and it's not falling at proper speed. So I should use collision layers to stop that. So the reason I'm leaving this looking like that mess is because I want to do him properly. My hand's turned off. Where's my left hand? There it is. I want to correct it properly, and the way I want to correct it properly is I tried to do too much of a too many different features while keeping things simple. So I ended up doing a simple navigation using root motion, using pre-made animations that weren't perfect. So it walked well enough and looked pretty good, but didn't walk perfectly. And then I wanted him to, pick up stuff using animation and IK. It worked, but not perfectly, and all the problems compound together, and fixing the one with a quick hack creates problems for the next one. So he's now pretty broken, as you can see, and you can also see his bones twisting, like his mesh gets deformed as he twists like that, which it's not the worst, but it's not great, just because the bone constraints aren't exactly beautiful. Wow, what is happening to your hand? So my game plan here is to make a nice navigation controller, that walk controller of some sort, either driven with root motion or driven from the navigation agent, and so that he'll walk without foot sliding, and I want him to be able to position himself exactly. And then I'll make an animation for picking up and other interactions that can blend with the movement, so that when he goes to pick up the ball while it's still rolling, he'll be able to continue taking steps while picking it up. I may or may not make a hip controller so that he can crouch down while still moving and put his body closer to the ball. And that would allow us to use an upper body animation for picking things up, and he could pick them up from the table or from the ground using the same upper body animation. And we could have a separate layer for his locomotion, which could lower him when needed. And I wouldn't want to do this with the animation controller, because the animation controller will very quickly explode into an unwieldy mess. So instead, I'd want to build my own custom animation manager using Animancer Pro, which will let me make multiple layers of animation and specify exactly where they apply. It'll let me synchronize animations between the different layers. So I could have a full body animation of him idle. I could have a walk animation for his full body, and I could have a walk animation for just his lower body. And I could synchronize the two so that the walk animation for the lower body is always at exactly the same point as the walk animation for the full body. Then if I want him to wave while walking, I can blend the wave animation over the upper body while the lower body continues to walk. If I wanted him to wave while standing, the wave animation would do a full body wave, while his lower body would obviously just follow the full body thing, and the lower body would be faded out. And that way, when the wave is finished, I could fade in the full body animation or the half body animation, and it would apply correctly. So if he starts walking halfway through the wave, the lower body would fade in as he starts walking, and then when the wave finishes, the full body would fade in, and the motion would be the same at the same point for the animation, so we wouldn't see any hitching in his legs as he moves. The other reason I turned, well, not the other reason, the reason I turned off the look controller that I was using before, that turns his shoulders and turns his spine, is because it breaks the hand IK. As he turns his shoulders, that will also move the IK position. So if I tell him to put his hand where the ball is, can't get there, my chair is in the way, even if VR thinks that's open space. Hello. Wow, this is interesting. This unusual behavior is because I have, as he's placing it on the table, I have him just rotating to face the home position. Where is he? Am I standing inside him? There he is. He was on the ground. I have him rotating to face it, which obviously looks pretty bad if I'm moving around like this, but isn't a problem if it's on the floor where it would be expected. I wanted his IK there to grab it. Good. That's where he's looking. I could make it not a physics object. Yeah, so his look controller would rotate his spine. So while his hand goes into the IK position, the spine then rotates and his hand gets rotated out of position and is no longer at the correct spot. So I either need to write my own script to take into account where his hand has been moved to and move the IK goal, or I need to write my own look controller if I want his spine to rotate. I could use the Unity built-in look controller with Unity built-in IK, but it's not the best. It tends to look pretty artificial. I quite like the F Impossible's look controller asset. It does much more natural looking blends. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So This disaster is obviously a disaster, but everything that's going wrong has a reason behind it. And the reason for pretty much all of them is because I'm using the standard Unity methods to do it, and I'm not polishing it each step to the correct degree before adding the next. Unity has great tools to do something simple, and they're not great when you start doing something more complex. So as we add the additional features, we start running into more and more problems and having to add more and more corrections on top, and you start getting issues like this. So instead of that, I'm going to jump straight into doing a more robust solution using better animation blending, and we'll make a character that can interact with the world in a more general sense, so that it'll be quite useful for other projects as well. Yeah.